Hey gang, welcome back to the Joy of Wrenching. I'm your friendly neighborhood mechanic, and today in the shop we've got a 2013 Hyundai Santa Fe, and it has a problem with the door latch. The car always thinks the doors are open on this thing, and of course that's a real problem because now the dome light stays on and it drains the battery, and then you've got these idiot lights on the dash that say, hey, your doors are still open, but it's not. The doors securely shut, but it still thinks that the door is open. So I want to show you how to fix that for good today, and it requires replacing the door latch mechanism. So come along and let's get into it. So let me show you what's going on. So I get in the car here, I shut the door. The door is nice and solid, but my dome light stays on, and the car still thinks that the door is open. It also thinks that the rear passenger door is open, and so we're gonna have to address that one as well, but we're only talking about the driver's door right now. So again, I'm gonna shut that thing, and it doesn't matter how hard you slam it, you cannot get that to go off. Let me show you what's actually going on. So when you shut the door, this door latch right here comes over and grabs hold of the striker on the door jamb right there, and it goes and pinches around there. I'll sort of demonstrate with a screwdriver. When you shut the door, this door latch comes and grabs hold of that striker like that. But the problem is that over time, the Hyundai door latches get wallered out. See all that looseness, all that play in there? And so the door doesn't recognize that it is shut completely, even though it is. There's no gap here. There's no, you know how sometimes you can shut the door and it's not fully latched. It's just kind of halfway latched. And typically you pull on the door and it'll go clunk just out a little bit. Well, this is not the problem. It's fully latched. It's working just fine. It's just that the latch itself doesn't recognize it. So how do we fix it? Well, the fix is to replace this door latch completely, which means taking apart the door, and I'll show you that here in a second. But let's say it happens out of the blue, or you don't have the money to do that repair for a little while, and you just want to fix it for, real quick and dirty in a pinch. All you need is a little bit of electrical tape, and if you wrap about 10 rounds of electrical tape around this part right here of the door latch, what it does is it fills this out just a little bit, and it makes this thing think that it's shut just a little bit better, and it'll turn that light off. But again, this is not a permanent fix. That's just in a pinch. Now, I want to show you how to do it permanently, and so we're going to go ahead and replace that latch now. Before we get started, I want to run through some of the tools you're going to need. So go ahead and get these things ready. You're going to need some pry tools. Trim tool come in handy. One of these panel removing tools is really handy. I'll put links to this stuff down in the description if you're interested or don't have these. You're going to need a little pocket screwdriver, maybe a pick, some needle nose pliers, and some 10mm wrench or sockets. Now, this one I highly recommend because it has a magnet in here. And because we're working inside of the door, we don't want some of these bolts to just fall down inside the door. The magnet is going to hold on to them. So I really like that. You're also going to need a T30 Torx bit and a Phillips screwdriver. In this case, I'm going to be using my impact, my little small impact. So I'm going to have these different bits to interchange there. You're going to need a little bit of tape of some kind. I've just got some blue tape here. It doesn't matter what kind you use, just you're going to need some tape. And of course, you're going to need to get yourself a new door latch. These things are not very expensive. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them on Rock Auto, or even your local parts house, okay? Just a flimsy little plastic part, but once you swap this thing out, everything is going to be so much better, because this piece here that gets so loose and loosey-goosey on the factory part is all brand new again. So let's get started. First thing we need to do is remove this door panel. So you've got this little corner part up here that's got a speaker in it. You can get your pry tool back behind there and just kind of get a little bit of a wiggle. there's a couple of little tabs that push in and it'll pull right off. Once that's off, you can just push in on the connector here and separate that, set it aside. Okay, next part of this puzzle is going to be reaching right inside of this door handle, and you'll see there's a little trap door you can pull down, and there's a Phillips screw right behind there. We'll go ahead and remove that. And then right under here inside of the door, you got a little plastic tray that you'll need to sort of pry up and out of the way. And if you had some Coke spilled in there or anything like that, it might be kind of sticky, as in this case. But then there's another screw right underneath there that we're going to pull out, Phillips screw. Now that our screws are removed, there's just the two there. We can go under here. Now the door panel is held on with a bunch of push pins, and they hold on really well, let's say. And so I'm going to get my panel separating tool here, and there's a little divot right here under the door and another one right over here that you can get your tool, either a pry tool or in this case this panel separator, in there, and you can start to pry it apart. And you'll feel, just as you just heard, the little clips give way. And you can just work your way around the edge. And you'll feel those areas where those clips are holding on. And they are a booger sometimes to really get loose. Once you get a few of them loose, you kind of get your hand under there. You can pull just on the door panel itself, pull it out away. Goodness, this is on there good. There we go. And you'll feel when you get to this point and it's just kind of swinging like that, that's when all of the panel clips are removed. Now that all the panel clips are released, you'll see that the door just kind of flops around like that. The panel just flops around. So just grab both sides, wiggle and lift up, and then pull towards yourself. Now come back over here and take a look at, maybe see it right here. There's a little tab right here. If you push that in, this whole piece just very easily comes off. Also holding our door panel on still are a bunch of electrical connectors, but we don't want to remove those quite yet. Before we remove these, we need to raise our window up to a certain position so that we can get the window loose. Let me show you that. So now that our cables are loose, we can take our door panel and just kind of rotate it up a little bit so that we can get back behind it. And I want you to see right here, there's a little plug. Just get your finger behind that little plug and pull it out. And don't lose it. Now look inside of that hole right there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower the window down until we can see, or we're going to raise the window up, sorry, until we can see the bolt that holds that window to the, there it is. You want it sort of centered up in that hole, just like that. Now that we've got our window where it needs to be, we can go ahead and disconnect all these electrical connections holding this door panel in place. And they're all just normal connections. You just pinch and squeeze each one of them that you find, and you can't get them mixed up. They only plug in one place, so you don't have to worry about getting them into the wrong place when you put it back together. Just pinch and squeeze. There we go. And then that door panel comes right off, and you can set it aside. Now that the outer door panel is off, we've got an inner door panel to deal with. But before we do that, remember we just moved the window down so that we could access the bolts that hold this window in place. There's one here under that plug that we removed, and there's another plug right here that we can pull off and set aside, and you'll see that, you know, once this is lined up, that one is also going to be lined up. And we need to remove these two bolts. Those are 10 millimeter, and this is where the magnetic socket comes in handy, okay? Because you don't want these things to fall down into the door. It's not as big of a deal right now because we're going to remove this door panel, and so we could fish it out if we had to. But once you go to putting it back on, you don't want to have to remove everything again just to go fishing out that bolt you just lost. So just come in here and you can remove these two 10 millimeter bolts that hold the window. So we've removed our bolts that hold our window in, and so now the window is loose. Now, there's enough tension of the window sweep here that if you move it up, it kind of stays up. I mean, it'll fall slow. It's not like you got to worry about it falling down and breaking into a million pieces. But what we need to do now is we need to push this window to the top, and kind of that keeps it out of our way when we go into the door panel to get to this latch. The way that we're going to keep this window up here is we're going to tape it in place. Now there's a little bit of dust on this window, so I'm going to wipe that off so that the tape sticks a little bit better to the glass. And so you just get you some tape. Just get you some tape of some kind. Take your window up near the top, and you want to stick your tape on there. You come over the top, you come down, stick your tape on the other side too. And you want to get, 4 or 5 inches worth of sticky tape on there. I like to do it a couple of times. The more tape you've got in contact with that glass, the less likely that glass is to slip or fall. This one, it doesn't want to fall as easily as some, so you don't have to do too much, but we'll go ahead and do, third one's a charm, right? We'll go ahead and do 3 layers. All right. Windows out of our way. So the next thing that I want to attack is our door handle. Yeah, believe it or not, the door handle, if you remove that, makes this job a whole lot easier. So let me show you how to do that. There's another little plug right here that you can get a little screwdriver or even your fingernail underneath. And then inside of this hole, you'll see that there's a gold colored screw. You can use either a Phillips or that 10 millimeter again, and you want to loosen that screw up. I'm going to use my 10 millimeter. Now that screw, once it's loose, look inside of here. Once it's loose, it comes out, and you see all those little plastic fingers? Those fingers will hold it in place. That way it doesn't fall down in the door, and that way it stays out, away from the door handle, which is what we're working on here. And what we've just done is we've removed the screw that holds this portion of our door handle in place. So in order to remove this portion now, we can pull out on the door handle and then wiggle and pull out on this piece, and it will come out with, in this case, the door lock. The other side doesn't have this, but this one does. Now we can take the rest of our door handle off by sliding it towards the rear of the vehicle like that. See how it just moved? And then pulling it out, and it rotates and comes out. Because these have sensors on them, they're also connected with a little electrical connector holding it all together. And you can come right here and you'll see the little tab that we can push down to release this electrical connector. Just like that. Now that our handle is out of the way, we can remove this one screw right here to completely get the guts of the handle removed. This is a Phillips, kind of a long skinny screw here. Once you remove that one screw, we can slide. You see there's a couple of little plastic fingers right here that hold this handle now in place. Now that our door handle is removed completely, we can work on the latch itself. And it's held in place with 3 T30 bolts. Go ahead and buzz those out of there. And set these aside, you're going to need them to put it back on. Door handle is removed, door latch is loose. So now we can work on the inner door panel here. It's held on by 10 10mm bolts around the perimeter here. So just go through and buzz those out. I like to leave some at the top end just in case this door panel wanted to fall off. This one doesn't because it's kind of held in place. You don't have to worry about that as much. See, I took all of them off and it's not just falling out or anything like that. Okay, now we've removed all 10 of the 10mm bolts that hold the inner door panel in place. And so you can kind of grab hold of, there's these little plastic tabs, and there'll be a little bit of a seal, plastic rubbery seal that keeps, you know, dust and debris and water and everything from the inner door panel from coming in contact with the cabin. And so you'll just kind of go around the edges and break that seal, kind of wiggle. Maybe a little bit difficult in some places, but you'll eventually break it loose. You can use your pry tool to kind of help in that process, coming around the edges. Yeah, that helps a lot. There we go. There we go. You kind of hear it break that seal. And then you can kind of wiggle the thing and pull it towards you and towards the inside just a little bit. And you see, as I do that, look at that latch moving around right there. Okay. The other thing we want to do at the same time is we want to look out here at our door handle. You see these two little plastic lip or grabbers right there? We want those things to come loose. We want this whole portion of the handle to come. So I've pushed in on this, and now I've pushed towards the front of the vehicle. Now this is completely loosey-goosey inside of there. And that's going to come in really important as we start to move this thing even further. But as you can see, I've got a bunch of electrical wiring right here that's limiting how much I can move this. So let me show you how to loosen up this electrical wiring so that we can get a little bit more play here. In order to move this inner door panel even further, we need to get a little bit more free play. The electrical wiring harness is tethered to it in a bunch of different places, and we need to get some free play. So this is where your needle nose come in handy. You just squeeze these little boogers and they'll pop right up and out. And what that does is it gives us a little bit more freedom. Freedom is a good thing. Okay, so we'll take a few of these things off. You don't have to take all of them off. You don't have to remove the entire wiring harness or anything like that, but this will really free things up a lot. Now, just lift up towards the inside of the car, and here comes our door latch mechanism. There we go. So that's how you get to it, guys. There it is, and here's the outer door, or the door handle, the inner portion of our outer door handle. And here's where it is connected to the door latch itself. Lots of little plastic doohickeys holding all this together, and I'll show you how to get that apart so that we can replace this latch now. So let's start attacking this old latch here and get it apart from our handle. Okay, so you can see there is some electrical wiring that kind of comes along and sort of tethered to the door latch and the handle. You've got a part of the door latch and actuator cable here that kind of comes over the top. You might want to take a lot of pictures of this thing just so that you can be sure to get it back together the way that it came apart. But the first thing I want to do is there's a connector, electrical connector here, and it's just like every other one. You squeeze on it and remove it, and squeeze a little tab right there and pull that loose. And then we can take our wiring off of the old latch here. Just kind of zigzags through this little plastic holder and then comes up underneath there. You can leave it attached to the door handle because we're going to go ahead and reuse this portion of our door handle. Now let's go ahead and loosen this cable right here. See, it's just attached inside of there. Just pop that loose. And then right up in here, the other end is attached to the door handle. So we can just pull it towards the inside. And then we can rotate it down, come around this other side and take a look in here. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get the little ball out of this portion right here. Hopefully you guys can see that. So I'm going to rotate this down, and then there's a little gap in it, and it'll allow it to slide right out like so. There we go. So now this portion of our latch is free. Okay. Now we need to remove this piece off of it, and you can see where it's attached right here with these two little fingers. So we can just push on these fingers and wiggle these two apart. You may find that you need a little screwdriver or the needle nose in this case. You can squeeze that a little bit in like so. And I'm pulling and wiggling, pulling and wiggling. Let me try it with a screwdriver. Sometimes that's a little easier. Just get that behind it, push that through. There's another one right there. Just push that through. There we go. Just wiggle and pull. It'll come loose. Just nice and easy. Wiggle and pull. There you go. All right, so there's our door handle we want to keep, and there's not much holding this latch to the panel any longer. This piece here is part of the panel, okay? The latch itself is attached to this piece right by these three little tabs. And so all you got to do now is wiggle the latch, and it'll come off of those little tabs. Now, our latch is almost ready to come loose. But as you can see, we still have the actuator cables attached to it. So we can take those cables loose from this little thing right here. And if you notice, there's a big ferrule and a smaller ferrule. This little drum on the end of the wires. The big one goes on the bottom, the smaller one goes on the top. The way that it feeds into the panel, it keeps it all straight, so you're probably not going to get that messed up. But in order to remove this, you just pop these out just like so, and then turn it at an angle, and it'll come right out of its track. So pop it loose from its clasp, and then turn it at an angle, and it comes out of there. Okay, and then this other side, you want to come over here and just push this little rubber grommet, push through both of them, just like that. And then the whole thing comes out. Here's our old one, and let's compare it to our new one. Make sure that everything looks the same. There's nothing attached to the old one that we need to take off and steal and put onto the new one. Everything looks the same. And notice the new one comes with these little rubber grommets, so we don't have to worry about that. And all the cables, and it's not as loose in here as the original one was. So that'll be a nice upgrade. All right, let's put this in. So putting this thing in is just the reverse of taking the old one out. So we're going to take our cables here and just feed them into their corresponding holes. And remember, the longer ferrule goes through the bottom hole. You can't get it wrong, so don't worry. Once it comes through, you'll see that everything lines up the way it should. There we go. Just like that. Okay. Now we come back here, and remember this handle. Remember this whole assembly just kind of slides onto these little tabs on that white bracket, just like that. And then it'll come in, and this one here just kind of grabs it at the bottom and holds it in place. So now the new latch is attached to the door panel through this little plastic holder here, this little trident. Before we forget, we're going to go ahead and plug in our electrical connector to it. You want to hear that satisfying click, let you know that it is, there you go, that it is seated well. and we can take our inner door handle part and replace it. Now that the latch is attached to its little holder here, we can go ahead and reconnect this cable to our inner door handle. So this cable has to go down inside of here, and this little ball on the end has to go into, let me show you if I can. I'm try to catch this. So we come under here, there we go. That ball's got to go into that black thing, just like that. See how that went in there? Hopefully that's coming through. I'll show it again. So it's got to go into that black thing, just like so. Okay, and then the cable itself can come around, and it needs to be on this side of this plastic piece, and it gets held in place right here. It'll snap in place right there. See, that's how that's held. Okay, now the rest of the handle comes up here like so, and then these two fingers clip in to the top of our new door latch, just like this. See how that holds? And then you can take this cable and put it back into its holder right there. And now the new latch and the inner door handle are one again. We just need to route this wire the way that it was, kind of snake through here and up and underneath here. Don't worry so much if you don't remember exactly how this goes. There's not a whole lot going on inside the door for this to get snagged on or anything like that. You're just kind of keeping it out of harm's way. There we go, just like that. Next step is we want to get these little rubber grommets and pull them through these holes that they pass through. And you can come on the back side here and kind of give it a little help from the back, pushing it, and it'll kind of snap in place whenever it gets seated correctly. And you can see that the fat side is here, and then the back side ought to be flush with the plastic. Almost there. Go ahead and pull on it just a little bit more. There we go. See how that kind of popped right into place? On this side, nice and bulbous. Okay, let's get this lower one now. Just kind of work it through. You can pull on it. You don't have to worry, it's not going to tear. You can kind of give it a little bit of a pull, and you'll hear it kind of pop. Maybe you heard that like snap as it got into place. The other end of these need to be going back into this little plastic holder. Now remember, you can't get this wrong. The big one goes on the bottom. In order to put it back in, you come in at an angle. I'm trying to do this here so you guys can see, keep my fingers out of your way. Come in at an angle, and it goes into these little tracks. The little tabs go into the track. And then the other side just goes into this little holder and snaps in place. You do the same with this other one. Come in at an angle, get it into the track. At an angle, come on, get in there. Come on, be nice. There we go. And then snap this part in. There we go. Once everything is back together here on the back side, and again, don't forget to plug in this this electrical connector here. You don't want to get all this stuff together and then try to actuate the door or something and realize you forgot to plug it back in back here. But all this is back together. This is all fed through. The grommets are popped through. We are ready to snake this back in place. And so we're going to put it in just the same as we took it out. We're going to push it in against the door, and then we're going to slide it up into place, just like so. I'm going to get all these wires out of our way on this side, and we're just going to come in here, and you'll feel the door panel itself, the inner door panel, pop into place and just sort of hold itself there. And as you can see, everything pretty much lined up very nicely already with this latch. But where we need a little bit of help usually is right here on the inner door handle. So remember these little plastic fingers, they've got to come all the way over here and hold on to that part of the door. And when they are in the right place, this end will come up and that little plastic finger will come in and hold itself in place. Now we can take our little screw before all this gets back apart, and we can take our little screw and put that back here, and that'll hold our inner door handle in place and ready for our outer door handle. Now we can put our outer door handle back in place. Don't forget to plug it back in. So you may need to grab something just to hold this part of the electrical connector in place. I've got this pick here as you come and try to snap these two back together, just like so. There you go. Heard that satisfying click. And then you take the back half of it, slide it in place, and then the front half just slides right also, and then the whole thing goes towards the front of the vehicle and it snaps in place. Then the next piece of this puzzle is just our door lock mechanism again, and you want to look inside of that hole there and make sure that the screw is still in place but is pushed as far out as possible, because that screw doesn't, if it's not pushed as far out, is going to get in the way of this as we put it in. So we'll put this in here just like so. You don't have to worry about lining up the little tab on the lock. You just slide this thing in while you hold the handle out. While you hold the handle out, we slide this side in and it just falls right in place. Now we go in here and we tighten up our screw. And what that's going to do is hold that piece in place. There. Now the door handle is back in place and will work as it should. Now that our door handle is tight in place, we can replace our little rubber grommet there, and we can put our T30 Torx screws that hold the latch in place with our fingers. You want to always start these things by hand so you don't cross thread them or something goofy like that. There we go. And again, T30. Doesn't have to be gorilla tight, just tight. Outer door handle's on. Latch is secured to the door panel itself. Inner door panel, it sits in place, so it'll just sit there for you, and the bolt holes are lined up. It's time to put our 10 millimeter bolts around the perimeter. I'll go ahead and get them started before I secure, just in case I needed to wiggle it around, but luckily everything lined up just perfectly. And it should for you as well. Oh, you're still, okay. So now we no longer need all of that freedom that disconnecting these attachment points gave us. So we'll go ahead and snap those back into place. And since we used the needle nose to squeeze this, we didn't break it trying to get it out of there. So it'll just snap right back into place. And you know, this wiring harness has a little bit of memory. It knows where it used to be. And so it'll be very easy for you to snap it back into place. Door panel is secured. So now it's time for us to go ahead and put the window back down into the track and use those two little bolts to squeeze a hold of the window, hold it in place. So very carefully, we're going to take our tape off of here. Like I said, these things are sitting in the track, and the track has enough sort of grab to it that it's not going to just fall down. But I'm going to go ahead and hold it while I undo the last bit of tape. So you can see it's not just going to go falling down and break into a million pieces. And so we'll just go ahead and lower this down, and it goes right into place. You don't even have to, there's not really anything that we can see as we're, let me lower it down. There's nothing really you can see going on. You'll just kind of feel the window as you drop it down, sort of fall and secure into the window attachments. So now we can go ahead and put our bolts back in. There's a black one and a silver one. The black one goes towards the front here. And these don't have to be very tight either. There we go. Now, look down in through this hole right here, and you'll see that as I pull up on the window, the whole mechanism is moving, which lets you know that the mechanism is pinching hold of the bottom of the window now. Now that we're done attaching our window to the mechanism, we can take our little rubber grommets and reinstall those. There we go. That just keeps everything, all that moisture and dirt from coming in and touching the inner door panel, the pretty part. Everything is done on the inner door panel here. All of the parts are back in place. Everything's secured. And so it's time for us to put our pretty inner door panel here back on. But when we took it off, and you're gonna find this too, some of the little clips that go around the perimeter remained inside of the door here, and some of them broke to pieces. And so what you will want to do is get a set like this, and I'll put some links in the description to these that include some of the parts that are going to need to be replaced, like these inner door panel clips. You can get back behind them and pull them out, and you'll see that a lot of times these things will break, but you'll find kits that have ones that are similar that we can put in there. And so you just remove all of the pieces of the ones that broke off and get you some replacements, and they just come in here and they slide into place just like that. And then once you have all of your clips back in place, go ahead and take your door panel and set it up in place. So we put all of our replacement push pin clips in place. We're ready to go ahead and hang our door panel back in place. So we'll come over here and we'll just kind of put it up at about the right height. And it doesn't matter if you start with the door lock actuators or the different electrical connectors. I'll just go ahead and start with the electrical connectors here. You just put them back into place, and again, you want to hear that satisfying click as they go back into their homes. And they only go in one place, so you don't have to worry about getting them mixed up or anything like that. Okay, and in this case we had 4 of them. Now we want to reconnect our door lock, and so all we got to do, see, this end has these 2 little plastic tabs, and they stab in right here, and then it folds over, and then just push, and it will click into place just like so. Okay, and now everything is reconnected to our door panel. We can take the top of it and put it on this lip right here at the top of the door, and it'll just kind of hang there. Kind of wiggle it a little bit. There we go. And you'll see how it kind of lines up. This notch right here lines up, and then once the top is hanging nicely on the door, this notch is lined up. You just take your hand, go around the outside edge, and pop all your clips into place. And you know you got it lined up if you look down inside of here, and the screw hole lines up there, and the screw hole lines up inside here. There you go. All right, so grab your 2 retaining screws. Remember those 2 Phillips screws? One of them here in the door handle, door pull, and flip your little trap door back up into place, and then the one down in here in the handle itself. Don't want to lose your bit there. And don't forget your little protector here. Just line that thing back up, slide it down into place. There you go. Okay. Oh, one more thing. This corner over here. So it's our speaker, our little tweeter goes in there. And remember, we just unplugged this thing. So just plug that back in. What do we want to hear? A satisfying click. All right. Then you just take it and line it up, push it, snaps right back into place. There we go. Okay, so let's turn on the car. Let's let the system get used to all of its lights and everything. All right, come take a look inside of here, and you'll see that it's saying the door is open right now. So let's go ahead. Oh, actually, let me turn the light off because you guys can't see it with that light on. All right, so you can see that it's showing that the driver's door is open. All right, so let's go ahead and shut the driver's door now, and let's see if it recognizes if the driver's door is actually closed. And it does, so excellent. Perfect. Let me see that camera. You can't reach. Mrs. C is a little short, so she couldn't reach in there. But as you can see, the driver's door now shows to be closed. We'll pop her open here. It shows to be open. I'll sit in the car, close the door, and there she goes. So, good. Hey, all right. No more door ajar. I love it. So, as you saw, this is a really fiddly process, and I hope you guys appreciate that we really took our time to try and show you all those nitty-gritty details. And if this helped you out in some way, do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Man, it helps us to just reach a greater audience with our content. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch our video today. Hope it really helped out. And again, just thanks for your time. Y'all have a wonderful day, and God bless.